Deathworld apex predator sat beside the human. The class never spoke again. The academy sat on a planet far from the core worlds, a place where beings from many planets came to learn and grow. The buildings were tall, white, and smooth, with wide windows looking out over green plains and forests. Inside, the classrooms were quiet and clean. Students of all kinds sat at long tables, their eyes focused on small devices or on the teacher who spoke in calm, careful words. Today was different. A new student was coming to the class, and whispers ran through the room even before the doors opened. The creature was known to many across the galaxy, though no one in this classroom had ever met it in person. It was an apex predator from a death world, a planet where only the strongest survived. Its name was Karn. Records said Karn could crush a full-grown creature with one swipe of its claws. It could hunt silently, track prey for days, and survive the worst dangers without fear. The students looked at each other nervously as the doors opened. Teachers tried to hide their concern, but it was obvious in their eyes. A long shadow appeared in the doorway, and all the students instinctively shrank back. Karn walked in, tall and muscular with black eyes that seemed to study everything. Its skin was thick and rough, marked with scars from old fights. It moved with quiet power, and every step sounded like a warning. The teacher, a tall humanoid with silver skin named Lyra, spoke calmly. "This is your new classmate. He will sit beside Ethan. Please show him respect." All eyes turned to the human named Ethan. He was a quiet boy with brown hair and green eyes. He wore the standard academy uniform, a simple gray jacket and pants with his sleeves rolled up. Unlike the others, he did not move back in fear. He looked at Karn as it approached. The predator's eyes locked on him, dark and unblinking. For a moment the room was completely silent. No one breathed. The students could feel the tension in the air. Some of them shifted nervously in their chairs. A few even reached for their small devices, unsure if they might need to call for help. Ethan looked up at Karn and nodded once. "Hi," he said calmly. His voice was quiet, steady, with no trace of fear. Karn stopped. Its massive head tilted slightly. It had never been greeted like this before. Usually, prey ran, screamed, or froze in terror. Ethan did none of these things. He did not even flinch. The predator's black eyes narrowed slightly as it studied him. It lowered itself into the chair next to Ethan with a careful movement. The chair creaked under its weight, but Karn did not seem concerned. The teacher cleared her throat. "You may begin your lesson now." The students tried to pay attention, but their eyes kept darting between Ethan and Karn. No one had ever seen a human sit next to a predator like this without trembling. Ethan pulled out his tablet and opened his notes. Karn placed a large clawed hand on the table, careful not to crush the devices around it. It did not speak, but it did not move aggressively either. The lesson began. Lyra spoke about star maps and resource routes, and the students wrote quickly. But no one could concentrate. Every glance at Karn made their pens shake. Ethan, however, remained calm, writing steadily and occasionally glancing at the maps. He whispered to himself softly, making notes that only he could understand. At one point, Karn leaned closer to look at Ethan's notes. Its sharp teeth glinted as it moved, but it made no sound. Ethan noticed and slid the tablet closer. "Here," he said. "It shows the route more clearly if you follow it this way." Karn blinked. No predator had ever been helped by its prey before. Its muscles tensed, but not in anger. It was alert, curious, trying to understand why this small, fragile human seemed so confident. The class watched in wide-eyed silence. During the break, students whispered to each other, "Did you see that? He actually helped it. I thought the predator would crush him. How is he not scared?" The room was filled with quiet shock. Some students even refused to leave their chairs. They were afraid to draw attention to themselves, afraid of Karn's presence. Ethan leaned back in his chair and looked at Karn. "You don't need to growl all the time," he said softly. "We can learn together. I am not your enemy." The predator's head tilted again. No one else dared speak. Its black eyes softened slightly, though its claws remained sharp and ready. There was an understanding forming, unspoken but clear. Ethan did not fear Karn, and Karn did not strike. Later in the morning, a small exercise was given. The students were to work in pairs to complete a map puzzle. Many were afraid to pair up near the predator. Some even tried to switch seats. Ethan and Karn were paired naturally. Ethan did not hesitate. He looked at Karn and smiled. "Let's try this together." The predator's muscles shifted, and it nodded once. The class watched as the human gently placed pieces of the map on the table. Karn used one massive claw to adjust the larger pieces. Their movements were careful and coordinated. No one had expected the predator to be so gentle or the human to be so confident. Hours passed like this. Ethan continued to sit calmly, taking notes, helping Karn when needed, and speaking quietly. Karn observed everything, learning how the human moved, how he thought, how he remained calm when the whole class was trembling with fear. The whispers of the students faded into silence. No one could speak without feeling the weight of the predator's gaze. By the end of the day, the class had changed. Students no longer whispered. They no longer laughed nervously or tried to provoke Ethan. They simply watched, quiet and respectful. Karn leaned back in its chair, massive shoulders relaxing slightly. It had learned something today, something it had never expected. The human was not prey, he was something else entirely. Ethan packed his things slowly, still calm, still observing. He looked at Karn and said, "See you tomorrow." The predator only nodded. The silence of the classroom was complete. No one dared speak first. The day ended with a lesson far beyond the maps and routes the teacher had tried to teach. The students learned that humans were not to be underestimated. That night in dorm rooms and quiet halls, students whispered among themselves. "That human, he is not like us," one said. "He is not afraid of anything," another replied. Some thought it was luck, some thought it was courage, but deep down they felt a shiver of fear. For the first time, they understood that the quiet human sitting beside the apex predator had a power far beyond what anyone could measure. And in his small dorm, Ethan looked at the window and smiled slightly. He knew the predator was strong. He knew the class was scared. But he also knew that fear could be controlled, and that respect could be earned without violence. Outside, the twin suns set slowly, casting long shadows across the academy, as if the world itself had paused to watch the unlikely friendship forming in the quiet classroom. The next morning, the academy was quiet but tense. Students walked to class slowly, glancing at each other and then at the empty chair where Karn would sit. No one spoke. The memory of the day before lingered in every corner of the room. The human, Ethan, arrived as usual, calm and steady. His green eyes scanned the classroom, and he nodded to a few classmates, though most avoided eye contact. Karn arrived shortly after, moving with quiet power as always. Its presence filled the room without any effort. When it sat beside Ethan, a few students shuffled nervously, careful not to make a sound. No one spoke, and even the teacher, Lyra, seemed tense. The lesson began. Today, it was about basic survival tactics for hostile environments. The teacher spoke calmly, but her words carried warnings about danger and predators. Students listened carefully, but many of them were distracted. Their eyes kept flicking to the human and the predator. Some whispered quietly, but stopped when Karn's sharp gaze fell on them. Ethan followed the lesson easily, writing notes and sometimes muttering quietly under his breath. His hand moved fast and steady, and his face showed no worry, no stress. Some students noticed that when Karn leaned over to see his notes, Ethan adjusted them slightly to make the information easier to understand. It was a simple gesture, but it shocked the class more than any fight could have. During a discussion about survival techniques on dangerous planets, one student from a desert world named Josh raised his hand nervously. How would you survive if a predator attacked you?" he asked. His voice shook, and he avoided looking at Karn directly. Ethan looked up calmly. "You don't always need to fight," he said. "You watch, you wait, and you understand it. Fear is what makes a predator stronger, not you." Karn's head tilted slightly. It was listening. It had never met a human who spoke like this. Most creatures ran or fought immediately. Ethan spoke quietly, but his words carried weight. The predator seemed to understand something beyond what the human said. Later, during a group task, students were asked to form teams to solve a complex puzzle about resource mapping. Many avoided Ethan and Karn, afraid of being near the predator. But the teacher paired Ethan and Karn together. The two looked at each other, and without a word, they began. Ethan moved pieces of the map carefully, while Karn used its claws to hold the larger pieces in place. Other students watched in silence. It was strange to see a predator so careful and a human so confident. Some even whispered quietly, "Look at them, they are working together. How is that possible?" The task became more difficult when the teacher added a surprise element. A simulated predator attack was introduced into the exercise. Alarms sounded and lights flashed red. Many students panicked. Some dropped their pieces, others ran to hide. Fear filled the room like smoke. Ethan stayed calm. He looked at Karn and spoke softly. "Stay close. Follow my lead." Karn nodded, moving beside him. The predator's movements were precise, controlled. It did not attack, but it blocked the path of other students to guide them safely. Ethan led students through the simulation quietly, carefully instructing them when to move, when to crouch, and when to wait. The class watched in awe. The human and the predator were working together perfectly. Students who had feared Karn now felt a strange mix of respect and confusion. No one could believe how calm Ethan remained. He did not panic, did not scream, did not try to run. He simply thought clearly, acted quickly, and used the predator's power to protect others. When the simulation ended, the room was silent. No one spoke at first. Then one student, a girl named Claire, whispered, I think he's not afraid of anything." Her voice was trembling. Another student, Tyler, added quietly, "And the predator, it listened to him." It actually listened. I've never seen that before. Ethan looked at Karn, and the predator's black eyes met his green ones. There was understanding there, silent but strong. The other students slowly began to realize that they had underestimated humans. They had expected fear, weakness, or panic. Instead, they had seen calm, courage, and intelligence. After the exercise, the students returned to their seats. No one dared speak loudly. Even during normal lessons, the air felt different. Humans, they realized, were not creatures to mock or challenge easily. Ethan had changed the room with his quiet confidence. During lunch, whispers continued, but more carefully. Students exchanged nervous glances as Ethan and Karn ate together. Ethan shared some food with the predator, offering a piece of his ration bread. Karn accepted it slowly, as if unsure what to do, then ate. The small act made the room even quieter. A few students tried to speak to Ethan, asking about his home planet, about his experiences, about why he was not afraid. Ethan answered simply. "Life is hard there," he said quietly. "You learn to survive. You learn to watch, to think, to act. Fear doesn't help, control does." Karn seemed to listen, though it did not speak. The predator's presence was still intimidating, but now it carried a sense of control rather than threat. Students who had been terrified the day before now watched carefully, afraid to make a mistake, afraid to draw the predator's attention, but also curious. In the afternoon, the teacher introduced a challenge about team survival in extreme environments. Students were grouped in pairs to navigate a virtual landscape full of traps, hazards, and predators. Many tried to avoid Ethan, but he and Karn were again paired. The exercise began. As expected, students panicked when predators appeared in the simulation. Screams, hurried movements, and mistakes filled the room. Ethan moved calmly, directing Karn to cover openings, to guard weaker students, and to block dangerous paths. The predator followed his instructions with precise movements. Together, they navigated the landscape with efficiency and care. No one dared interrupt or speak loudly. Students watched silently, absorbing the lesson without being taught. They realized humans had instincts unlike any other species in the academy. Ethan's calmness and courage were more powerful than aggression. Even the apex predator, known to crush anything in its path, had learned from the human. By the end of the day, students were exhausted and silent. They had seen something extraordinary. A human had survived, guided, and even led an apex predator without fear or force. The whispers and rumors spread through the dormitories that night. Some students were afraid, some inspired, but all understood that humans were not to be underestimated. Ethan returned to his room, quiet as always. Karn followed him to the edge of the dormitory, its massive shadow looming in the hall. Ethan turned to it. "Tomorrow we try again," he said simply. Karn nodded. The predator did not speak, but its eyes held respect and something new, curiosity. Across the academy, students slept uneasily. They could not stop thinking about what they had seen. Many had studied survival, many had faced predators before, but none had faced a human like Ethan. The quiet human who could move with calm precision, who could guide a predator instead of fearing it, who could survive and think clearly under pressure. That night in private rooms, some students reviewed their notes, trying to understand how Ethan had done it. Others whispered about the predator, wondering why it had not attacked, why it had obeyed, why it had seemed almost curious. One thing was certain: the human had changed their understanding of life, strength, and fear. By the time the twin moons rose over the academy, Ethan was asleep, dreaming quietly of maps, survival paths, and strategies. Karn sat outside his door, massive and silent, its breathing deep and controlled. The predator had learned something it had never understood before. Humans were different. Dangerous, yes, but in a way that could not be measured by claws, teeth, or raw power. Humans survived, adapted, and endured. The next day would bring more lessons, more tests, and more opportunities to challenge what the academy believed about humans. But for now, the classroom remained silent in awe, and the memory of the human and the predator working together would linger in the minds of every student. No one spoke, because they could not. They had witnessed something beyond fear or power. They had witnessed respect earned quietly and courage shown without violence. The academy, for the first time, felt the weight of the unknown. And the human, Ethan, sat quietly beside the apex predator, calm as ever, ready for whatever came next. The next morning, the classroom was unusually quiet. Students filed in slowly, still thinking about the events of the day before. Everyone looked at Ethan and Karn as they entered, careful not to disturb them. The silence was heavy, almost like the air itself was holding its breath. The teacher, Lyra, stepped forward and spoke calmly. "Today, we will practice a survival simulation. It will test your decision-making, your speed, and your ability to work with others. Some of you will face danger, and some of you may need to protect your team. Remember, stay alert." Students swallowed nervously. The mention of danger made the room tense. Some glanced at Karn, unsure if it would make the exercise more difficult or easier. Others looked at Ethan, wondering if the human would panic under pressure. The simulation began. The classroom transformed as holographic walls rose around the tables. The environment became a dense forest with thick fog, dangerous cliffs, and moving shadows. Sensors flashed red to indicate predators in the area. The students froze for a moment, shocked at how realistic the simulation had become. Lyra gave instructions. "You must reach the safe zone on the other side of the forest. You may encounter predators. Work in pairs and watch each other. Success depends on teamwork and calm thinking." Many students panicked immediately. One group froze, unsure which path to take. Another stumbled over imaginary roots and rocks, knocking over equipment. Panic spread like fire. Ethan glanced at Karn. "Stay close," he said quietly. "Move with me, follow my lead." Karn stepped beside him, massive and alert. Its eyes scanned the fog and shadows, ready to react. The predator had learned something from Ethan. It did not rush forward blindly. It moved carefully, blocking danger, listening to the human's directions. The students followed behind, hesitating at every sound. Ethan guided them with quiet authority. "Watch the left path. There's a cliff edge ahead. Move slowly." Karn used its body to shield weaker students from sudden attacks in the simulation. One of the smaller students, Mia, slipped near a holographic predator. Karn's clawed hand swooped down, lifting her safely to her feet. She gasped in awe, realizing that the predator had protected her instead of attacking. The group continued through the fog. Ethan spotted a dangerous shadow moving toward them. "It's coming this way," he said softly. "Get behind me." Karn moved instantly, placing itself between the group and the predator. Its muscles tensed, ready to strike, but it waited for Ethan's command. The human calmly analyzed the threat, then whispered instructions. "Step to the right, keep moving, don't make sudden sounds." The group followed. The predator in the simulation lunged, but Karn blocked it. Ethan guided everyone with careful, precise movements. Students who had been terrified were now amazed. They whispered to each other quietly, too afraid to break the silence completely. After navigating through the first danger, Ethan paused briefly. "Everyone okay?" he asked softly. One by one, the students nodded. Even the trembling ones found courage in the human's calmness. Karn looked at Ethan with what seemed like understanding. It had never worked with a creature like this before. The human's instincts, focus, and courage were different from anything Karn had ever known. The simulation became more difficult. Holographic predators appeared from every direction. Cliffs, rivers, and falling debris made the path dangerous. Many students panicked. Screams echoed through the classroom, but Ethan stayed calm. He directed Karn and the group carefully, analyzing every move. At one point, a predator appeared suddenly near Tyler. The boy froze, unable to move. Ethan reached out quickly. "Step back slowly. Don't run." Tyler obeyed, and Karn moved instantly to block the predator. The shadow in the simulation lunged, and the predator's claws swiped harmlessly into empty air. Ethan guided everyone past it, quietly and efficiently. Other students watched, speechless. They had expected chaos, but instead they saw control. A human leading, guiding, and protecting others. A predator that normally destroyed everything now acted under the human's direction. The lesson was clear, even without words. Humans survived because they thought, not just because they fought. The group approached a river in the simulation. The water was fast and deep. Many students hesitated. Ethan stepped forward. "We cross together," he said. "Karn, you go first. Guide them." Karn stepped into the water. Its massive claws made waves, but it kept balance. Ethan followed, stepping carefully on rocks and guiding others. One student, Lucas, slipped and nearly fell. Karn's hand swooped down, catching him and keeping him safe. Students were amazed at how coordinated the two were. As they moved on, a cliff appeared ahead. A predator waited at the edge, ready to strike anyone who approached. Ethan studied the terrain quickly. "We go one by one. Karn blocks the predator while the rest cross." The students obeyed. Ethan went first, moving with precise, controlled steps. Karn stayed beside him, ready to defend. When it was safe, the predator from the simulation lunged, but Karn intercepted it perfectly. Each student crossed carefully, guided by Ethan's calm voice. By now, the classroom was silent. Even the students not participating in the exercise watched with wide eyes. They whispered quietly to each other, unable to hide their astonishment. One said, "He's not even sweating, he's controlling everything." Another replied, "And the predator, it's listening. It's working with him." The simulation grew even more dangerous. Falling rocks, moving shadows, and rivers of fire appeared. Panic would have destroyed any other group, but Ethan stayed calm. He analyzed each obstacle, gave clear instructions, and moved with steady purpose. Karn reacted instantly, blocking threats and protecting the students. Finally, they reached the simulated safe zone. The group was exhausted but unharmed. The students who had panicked before were silent, staring at Ethan and Karn. Their hearts raced, but they felt respect, awe, and fear all at once. Lyra spoke, her voice calm but heavy with meaning. This exercise was meant to test your teamwork, your courage, and your ability to survive under stress. Observe closely what you have learned today. Some of you panicked and failed to act. Some succeeded only because of others. But one student and one predator have shown control, courage, and understanding beyond your expectations. The students looked at Ethan. Some were too afraid to speak. Some were trying to hide their admiration. All of them understood something important. Humans were different. They survived not because of strength alone, but because of thinking, observation, and courage. Karn, for the first time in the academy, looked at a human with respect. The predator's muscles relaxed slightly. Its black eyes, which had intimidated everyone else, now seemed calm. It had learned that strength alone was not everything. The human had something else: intelligence, calm, and courage under pressure. After the simulation ended, the students returned to their seats. No one spoke. They were too stunned by what they had witnessed. Ethan put his tablet away slowly and looked at Karn. "Good work," he said quietly. The predator nodded once. Throughout the day, the classroom remained silent. Even during normal lessons, the air had changed. Students no longer whispered or laughed nervously. They were too aware now of the human's presence and the predator's obedience. They could not speak carelessly, not after witnessing what had happened. During lunch, students discussed the exercise quietly, careful not to draw attention. "I can't believe he did that," one whispered. "He's so calm, even with a predator beside him," another said, "and the predator, it actually listened to him. I've never seen anything like that." Ethan ate quietly, as always. He shared a small piece of food with Karn, who accepted it slowly. The predator's respect was clear, but so was its curiosity. The two were different, yet somehow connected. The students realized that the human had earned something they could not take for granted: the trust of an apex predator. In the afternoon, the teacher continued lessons, but no one dared challenge Ethan or Karn. The room remained quiet, filled with awe and caution. Even students who had been confident before were now careful. They whispered among themselves, trying to understand what they had seen. By the end of the day, the class had learned more than the lesson itself. They had learned about humans, about courage, and about strength that came from thinking, not just fighting. Ethan and Karn had shown them that survival depended on calm, control, and respect. That night in the dormitories, students could not stop talking quietly. Some were inspired. Some were afraid. All of them understood that humans were not weak, not easily intimidated, and not predictable. Ethan had changed the classroom forever, and the predator beside him had confirmed it. Ethan returned to his dorm quietly. Karn followed him to the edge of the hall. Ethan looked at the massive predator. "Tomorrow, we do more," he said simply. Karn nodded, its eyes calm but alert. Outside, the twin moons of the Academy planet shone in the sky. The light reflected off the Academy walls, casting long shadows. The students who had witnessed the day's events would not forget them. They had seen a human remain calm in danger, guide others, and earn the trust of a predator. They had learned that humans were different. And in the quiet of the dormitory, Ethan lay down to rest, ready for whatever challenges the Academy would send next. Karn sat nearby, massive and silent, watching over him. Together, they had survived the day, but the lessons they had taught the classroom would last forever. The next day at the academy started with a low hum of tension. Students moved slowly to the classroom, their eyes repeatedly glancing at Ethan and Karn. No one dared speak loudly. Even the teacher, Lyra, noticed how the atmosphere had changed. The events of the survival simulation had left a mark. Students were no longer simply classmates. They were witnesses to something extraordinary. Ethan entered the classroom quietly as always. His green eyes scanned the room, calm and focused. He carried his tablet and notes, prepared for the day. Karn followed closely, its massive presence filling the space without a sound. The predator had become familiar with the routine, yet every movement was precise and deliberate. The students watched, some hiding behind their seats, others frozen with curiosity and fear. The teacher began the lesson on advanced survival strategies in dangerous ecosystems. She spoke calmly, but her words carried weight. Today, you will learn about environmental awareness, predator behavior, and team coordination in unpredictable situations. Most students nodded, but their attention was split. All eyes were drawn to Ethan and Karn. The human sat with perfect posture, writing notes steadily. The predator rested beside him, black eyes alert but relaxed. No one spoke. The room was filled with quiet awe. During the lecture, a student named Riley, who came from a high-gravity world, attempted to challenge Ethan. "How do you expect to survive out there? You're human. You're weak compared to predators," he said loudly, pointing toward Karn. Ethan looked up calmly, meeting Riley's gaze. "Strength is not only in muscles," he said softly. "It is in thinking, observing, and staying calm when everything around you is dangerous. Fear is worse than danger itself." The class fell silent. Even Riley felt the weight of Ethan's words. Karn shifted slightly, muscles tensing, watching. The predator's presence made the challenge feel smaller, yet more serious. No one wanted to make a mistake. The teacher decided to test the class further. "We will conduct a live exercise outside the classroom," she said. "You will navigate a hazard field working in pairs. Each group must reach the safe zone within the time limit. Danger is real and unexpected." Students' hearts raced. Some whispered, trying to pair with the strongest members to ensure survival. Others avoided partners completely, fearing failure. Ethan and Karn paired naturally as always. The predator's towering figure made them impossible to ignore. The field was a mix of tall grass, uneven terrain, and scattered obstacles. Sensors indicated moving threats, some slow, some fast. The students hesitated at the edge, unsure how to proceed. Ethan spoke quietly to Karn. "Move slowly. Watch the environment. Lead carefully." Karn nodded once and stepped forward. Its claws pressed firmly into the soil, moving silently but with authority. Ethan followed, scanning the surroundings and guiding other students. The weaker ones struggled to keep up, but Karn shifted its massive body to create paths and shields for them. At one point, a sudden shadow moved near a student named Mia. She froze in fear, unable to run. Ethan reacted instantly. "Step back slowly. Do not panic," he instructed. Karn blocked the shadow without aggression, keeping it from reaching Mia. The student breathed heavily, astonished that the predator protected her instead of attacking. Other students watched in awe, their fear mixed with confusion and admiration. The humans' calmness and clarity had changed everything. They had expected chaos, but instead they saw order. The predator, a creature of raw power, moved in tandem with the human, obeying commands without hesitation. The group continued through the field. Fallen logs, uneven rocks, and sudden predators created constant danger. Ethan guided each student carefully. "Watch the left, step over the roots, stay low near the ridge." The predators in the field lunged occasionally, testing their reactions. Students panicked, but Ethan remained calm. He anticipated every move, positioning Karn to block attacks and guide the weaker students. Slowly, step by step, they advanced. By mid-exercise, students began to realize something important. Panic was useless. Fear made mistakes. Calm thinking and coordination were far more valuable than strength or raw power. Ethan exemplified this lesson perfectly. Even Riley, who had challenged him earlier, followed silently, absorbing the human's guidance. During a river crossing, Lucas, a timid student, slipped on the slick rocks. Ethan reached him instantly. "Hold my hand and move carefully. Don't rush," he said. Karn's massive claw helped steady the others near the edge, blocking sudden attacks from simulated predators. Students were amazed at the precision and teamwork. The human and predator were inseparable, acting as one. After crossing the river, the terrain grew steeper. Cliffs and loose rocks made every step dangerous. Ethan moved slowly, assessing each foothold, one at a time. "Watch your step. Karn, cover the left flank." The predator moved instantly, muscles tensing, ready to block threats. The students followed, silent and cautious. Each step was deliberate. The fear that had gripped them earlier had been replaced by respect. They realized that humans could survive and lead without the raw physical power that other species relied on. Finally, the group approached a final obstacle, a narrow bridge suspended above a deep chasm. The bridge creaked under weight and wind swirled around it. Ethan approached first, moving carefully. "Keep balance. One step at a time. Karn, stay close and guide the others." Karn moved beside him, its massive body steadying the bridge and protecting the students behind. The smaller ones crossed slowly, guided by Ethan's calm instructions. Even Riley hesitated, but with a nod from Ethan, he proceeded carefully. At the far side of the bridge, the group reached the safe zone. Students collapsed with relief, breathing heavily. Some smiled, some looked shocked, and some simply stared in awe at Ethan and Karn. The predator exhaled slowly, its muscles relaxing slightly. The human had led it, guided others, and survived challenges that would have overwhelmed most species. Back in the classroom, the students could not stop whispering quietly, "He's not just strong, he's smart and calm." The predator actually listened to him. "Humans are different, we underestimated them." Even the teacher, Lyra, noted the change. She spoke softly to the class. "Observe what you have seen. Courage, calmness, and intelligence are as important as strength. Ethan has shown how humans survive in ways we cannot always predict. Respect is earned through actions, not fear alone." By lunch, the room had changed completely. Students no longer dared challenge Ethan or provoke Karn. They watched silently, careful with every word and movement. Whispering still occurred, but it was subdued, filled with curiosity and awe rather than fear. Ethan ate quietly as always, while Karn sat beside him. The predator accepted a small piece of food from the human, a sign of trust that no one else had witnessed before. Students stared, realizing that this human had earned something few beings could, the respect of an apex predator. A few students approached Ethan cautiously, asking how he could remain calm under pressure. "It's about thinking ahead," he explained quietly. "Watching, understanding, controlling fear. That is how you survive even when everything is dangerous." The predator watched him, black eyes calm but alert. It seemed to understand the lesson as well. Strength alone could not always protect it. The human had shown it a new way: cooperation, intelligence, and patience. The afternoon passed with more lessons, but the classroom remained quiet. Students whispered among themselves, comparing their own reactions to Ethan's calmness. Some tried to imitate his method, while others simply observed, learning without being taught. By the end of the day, the classroom had transformed. Fear had shifted to respect. Whispering had become thoughtful observation. Even the most confident students realized that humans could survive challenges in ways they had never imagined. That night in the dormitories, students talked quietly in hushed tones. Some were inspired, some were afraid. All of them understood one thing clearly: humans were not to be underestimated. Ethan had shown courage, intelligence, and calmness. Karn had confirmed it by following the human's guidance. Together, they had taught the classroom a lesson stronger than any lecture or rule. Ethan returned to his dormitory quietly. Karn followed, as always, a silent guardian. "Tomorrow will be another test," Ethan said simply. The predator nodded once, its massive body relaxed but alert. Outside, the twin moons rose slowly, casting long shadows over the academy. The students would not forget what they had seen. A human had survived danger, guided a predator, and earned respect without a single act of aggression. The lesson was clear. Strength was not always about muscles, claws, or power. It was about thinking, patience, and calm under pressure. The classroom would never speak the same way again. The whispers had faded, replaced by quiet respect. Students moved carefully, aware that their assumptions about humans had been wrong. Ethan had changed their world quietly, without boasting, without violence, and without fear. And Karn, the apex predator, had learned that even the strongest beings could benefit from guidance and intelligence. Together, they had survived the day. Together, they had changed the classroom forever. The next morning, the academy was quieter than ever. Students moved with care through the hallways, eyes shifting constantly to Ethan and Karn. No one dared whisper too loudly, no one dared joke, no one tried to test courage in front of the two. The human and the predator had changed the atmosphere of the entire class. Respect hung in the air like a heavy weight, and students were not sure how to react. Ethan entered first, as usual, calm and steady. He carried his tablet, neatly folded notes, and a small pack of supplies for the day. His green eyes scanned the classroom, taking in every student without judgment. He nodded softly to a few of the braver ones who dared to meet his gaze. None responded loudly. All eyes turned quickly away. Karn followed silently. Its massive body moved like a shadow, precise and deliberate. The predator's black eyes swept the room, alert, calm, and watchful. Students instinctively stayed in their seats, aware of its presence. This was no longer fear alone, it was respect. The apex predator's authority combined with the human's calm presence made the classroom feel tense and controlled. The teacher, Lyra, addressed the class. "Today, we will focus on advanced problem-solving in dangerous situations. You will work in teams to navigate unpredictable challenges. Remember your training and your observations from previous exercises." The students exchanged nervous glances. Some whispered softly, wondering how they could perform under pressure, now that they had seen what humans were capable of. Even the strongest and bravest students felt the weight of the human and predator beside them. Ethan paired naturally with Karn, as always. He did not hesitate or worry. He simply moved to his seat, placed his tablet down, and whispered, "Ready?" Karn's massive head tilted slightly, then it nodded once. Its body relaxed, but its eyes remained sharp and alert. Together, they were ready for whatever challenge the teacher would present. The exercise began. The holographic field simulated a Deathworld jungle, complete with dense fog, cliffs, rivers, and moving predators. Students froze at the edges, unsure how to proceed. Ethan observed carefully, noting the safest path. "Follow me, keep close. Don't panic," he said quietly. Karn moved beside him, massive claws careful not to crush the smaller students. Its body acted as a shield, guiding and protecting the group as they entered the simulation. The students followed silently, their hearts racing. Fear had not vanished completely, but it was tempered by the human's calmness. The first challenge appeared, a deep ravine with a narrow, unstable bridge. The wind howled through the trees and shadows moved beneath the bridge. Some students froze. Ethan stepped forward. "One at a time, watch your balance. Karn, cover the right flank." The predator moved immediately, placing its massive claws on the edges of the bridge to prevent collapse. Ethan led the first student across, carefully guiding them step by step. Other students followed, their movements hesitant but deliberate. Even Riley, the high-gravity world student who had challenged Ethan before, obeyed silently, trusting the human's instructions. Halfway across, a holographic predator lunged from below. Students screamed and froze, but Ethan remained calm. "Step back slowly. Stay in position," he instructed. Karn blocked the threat, muscles tense and alert. Its claws swiped only when necessary, protecting the students without harming them. The bridge held. Everyone reached the other side safely. Students exhaled in relief, but they were too stunned to speak. They had witnessed human calmness combined with predator strength and control. They had never seen anything like it. The next challenge was a fast-moving river with jagged rocks. Water surged, and some students struggled to keep balance. Ethan studied the currents, assessing the safest path. "Move slowly, one step at a time. Hold on to the rocks," he said quietly. Karn waited beside them, steadying those who lost balance and blocking sudden waves from simulated predators. Lucas, who had slipped in previous exercises, now moved steadily with the human's guidance. Mia, who had panicked before, crossed without hesitation. The students were learning by observation, understanding that calm thinking and careful planning mattered more than raw strength. By the time they reached the other side, the sun was high in the academy sky. The students had completed the field, but their minds were still racing. The quiet human and the massive predator had taught them lessons beyond the exercise. Courage was not loud. Strength was not only physical. Survival depended on intelligence, patience, and teamwork. After the exercise, the students returned to the classroom. Silence filled the room, but it was different this time. It was not fear alone, it was reverence. Even the boldest students now approached their studies with caution and focus, aware of the lessons they had learned. During lunch, students whispered carefully, trying not to attract attention. "He's incredible," one said, "and the predator, it actually listens to him. I've never seen anything like it." "I think I understand now," another added quietly. "Humans survive because they think, not because they fight. That's why he's calm. That's why he's alive." Ethan ate quietly, as usual, offering small pieces of food to Karn, who accepted without hesitation. The predator's respect was obvious. Its massive body relaxed in the human's presence, and students noticed the trust between them. They realized that this bond was more than strength. It was understanding, intelligence, and calm courage. The teacher spoke again. "Observe and learn. Strength and power are not always enough. Intelligence, observation, and control are what make true survivors. Humans exemplify this lesson. Remember what you have seen." The students nodded silently. Some were inspired, others intimidated, but all were changed. They had seen human calm, predator cooperation, and the quiet authority that came from skill and experience. The classroom had transformed forever. As the day ended, students returned to their dormitories, still whispering quietly about what they had seen. They replayed the exercises in their minds, realizing that fear was only part of the challenge. Survival depended on focus, calmness, and careful thought. Humans had mastered this in ways they had never imagined. Ethan returned to his room at the end of the day. Karn followed silently, a massive presence at his side. "Tomorrow will bring new challenges," he said softly. Karn nodded once, muscles relaxed but alert. The predator had learned more than just obedience. It had learned the value of human thought, calmness, and courage. That night, the students could not sleep easily. Thoughts of Ethan and Karn filled their minds. Some feared the human, some admired him, and some tried to understand how he could remain calm in every situation. Even the strongest students realized that humans were not weak, not easily intimidated, and not predictable. They had witnessed survival at its finest. By the next week, the classroom had changed permanently. Students no longer whispered loudly, they did not attempt challenges in arrogance, and they approached exercises with caution and respect. Ethan had taught them more than survival techniques. He had taught them humility, observation, and the quiet power of human courage. Karn, the apex predator, became a constant presence beside him. The bond between them grew stronger each day. The predator had once inspired fear, but now it inspired respect. Its obedience to the human was not blind, it was earned. It followed because it trusted the human's instincts, strategy, and calm judgment. During lessons, the class remained silent, even during discussions. They listened carefully to every word, aware of the human's presence. Occasionally, a student would ask a question, but even then the voice was soft, respectful. They had learned that actions spoke louder than words. Ethan's calm, his careful movements, and his leadership had changed them more than any lecture could. One day, a group of students attempted a small challenge on their own. They were hesitant, careful, and methodical. Even then, they paused and thought, remembering the lessons of the human and the predator. Their fear had shifted to respect, and their respect had taught them patience. By the end of the semester, the entire class had transformed. No one dared mock humans, no one underestimated their calm intelligence, and no one questioned their endurance. Ethan had quietly earned the trust of both predator and student alike. His presence had reshaped the classroom culture, showing that humans survived not by brute force, but by skill, observation, and courage. Karn remained beside him at all times. The predator had learned to trust, to protect, and to follow guidance. Together, they were unstoppable. The students who had witnessed this pairing remembered it forever. Even in later exercises and challenges, the memory of Ethan and Karn guided their actions, teaching lessons beyond survival, lessons about courage, intelligence, and respect. When the academy year ended, students left the classroom changed. They carried with them the lesson that humans were not the loudest predators, but they were among the most enduring. Ethan had shown them that survival depended not on fear or aggression, but on calm thought and careful action. Karn's presence confirmed the lesson. Together, they had demonstrated that humans could survive anything. In the quiet of the dormitory, as the sun set over the academy planet, Ethan prepared for the next day. Karn rested nearby, alert yet calm. The twin moons rose, casting long shadows over the academy walls. Outside, the students remembered what they had seen. The human had taught them respect, endurance, and courage in silence. The predator had confirmed it. The story of the human and the apex predator spread slowly through the academy. Students whispered quietly about the quiet human who could guide a predator, about calmness that overcame fear, and about intelligence that surpassed strength. They would not forget. Years later, when students spoke of their time at the academy, they remembered the lessons of survival, courage, and respect. Ethan and Karn had changed their understanding forever. The classroom never spoke carelessly again, not because of fear alone, but because of respect for the human who had shown them the quiet power of survival. And somewhere in the quiet halls of the academy, the human and the predator sat together, calm as ever, ready for whatever challenges the galaxy might bring next. The lesson was complete. Humans survived not by claws, teeth, or strength alone, but by courage, intelligence, and calm.